Gentlemen, are you sick and tired of spending all your time and money going on multiple dates with a woman and not getting laid? Let's be honest. The woman you're on a date with, she's probably not a virgin. So she's sleeping with somebody. Let's make sure that somebody is you. My name is Stirling Cooper. I'm an award-winning adult film star, a former high-class male companion, and I'm here to help you improve your sex life. The dating market can be kind of rough for the average guy these days, and you don't need to be spending all your time, energy, money, and attention going on multiple dates with a woman with the hope of potentially getting some sex out of it. No, there are some really fundamental strategic things that you can do on the first date to really increase your chances of sealing the deal and getting laid on the first date. And that's what we're going to cover in today's video. I'm going to give you 6 steps to getting laid on the first date. Now, these 6 steps are actually an extract from my ebook, How to Seal the Deal, which you can check out. The link is in the description down below. You shouldn't be going on dates with no game plan or strategy. If you do, you're going to get really shitty, terrible results. The old expression goes, if you fail to prepare, then prepare to fail. So I like to break this down into sort of 3 different phases that can help prepare you for success. So there's things you can do pre-date, there's things you can do actually on the date itself, and there's things you can do at the pull location when you're pulling back to your place that can help you escalate and lead towards sex. So I'm going to give you 2 tips on each of these 3 phases today that should ratchet up your close rate. So step number 1 is prepare for success. So this is something you're doing before the date even happens. And when I say prepare for success, I mean, what would you do if you knew a girl was coming over to your house tonight? Well, you'd probably clean the fucking house, clean your bathroom up, make sure there's no shit stains on your toilet, for example. Don't have clothes laying around everywhere, okay? Take the trash out, make the place smell nice, not make it smell like a frat house, okay? You'd probably have condoms ready, like either by your bedside or in your pocket somewhere, right? Ready for success. This is what I mean when I say prepare for success, right? Guys will go out on a date with a chick and they'll focus on the date itself, and it might go really well and they bring the girl back and the place is a shithole, or it wasn't sort of set up logistically properly and it falls through and they don't close, right? So you should always, every single time, it's as much of a mental thing as it is a logistical thing, but every time you go out on a date with a girl, you should prepare, be ready to have her back at your place having sex. That means well-presentable place, tidy, smelling good, not trash everywhere, no shit stains on your toilet bowl, and condoms ready to go, because most girls aren't going to let you raw dog. Step number 2, which is again a pre-date concept, is bring her into your world. Don't go into her world. You see, I've seen guys make this mistake before where they, like, the girl will come up with the date idea, or the girl will invite a guy out to, like, hey, come watch the football game with me and my friends. I mean, yeah, that's a nice kind of, it's a cutesy platonic thing to do if you're in a relationship, but that's not a conducive environment to getting laid. You want, the environment you want really is you and her one-on-one, intimate, talking to each other, getting to know each other, and being able to physically escalate on each other, okay? So, and women aren't really ever going to suggest something that's going to lead to her getting fucked, because that's not what they're thinking. They're thinking, oh, I want attention and time with this guy, and you're thinking, I want sex from this woman. So when I say bring her into your world, okay, you have your local bar that you like to go to all the time, that you frequent, with your friends with the bartenders or whatever. You have your specific places that are basically near your house. near your sex location, that it's ideal for you. This is your world. You're comfortable in that bar. You've been to that bar before. You take all your dates there. That is where you're most comfortable. You know which best places to sit, etc. And so you're bringing her into that place. Or maybe you want to flex on her a little bit, right? And so you bring her into a social environment in which you are clearly, you know, well networked, you're well known, you're well respected, so your social value is really high. If you bring her into that environment, it's a demonstration of higher value for you. You look cooler, you look better, you look more attractive to her, okay? That is far better than you going into her environment. Say, for example, maybe she works at a particular bar, and she says, hey, come to this bar, I get discount, or some shit like that, right? But if you go there, what's going to happen? You're going to constantly be interrupted by her friends and work colleagues, interrupting the flow of the conversation, which does not help you at all in any way, shape, or form, right? So you kind of got to be aware of like controlling the logistics like this, because that is going to lead to far more success. So step number 3 is something you do on the date, and you want to get physical with her as quickly as you possibly can. The way I have always done this is coming in close and giving her a kiss on both cheeks and putting my hand maybe on her arm or on the small of her back. Moving in, kissing both cheeks. So I kissed her and I put my hand on her like the moment I've met her, basically. And I break it off. I'm not holding onto her and being creepy and weird like that, but I initiate the interaction with physical contact. So that sets the tone of this is like not a platonic friends interaction, or it's at least not heading towards platonic friendship. This is heading towards something more romantic, okay? I actually picked that up when I was in South America, in Argentina for the first time. Everyone kisses each other on the cheeks and stuff. I thought that is a pretty cool way and a subtle, not really pushy, but socially acceptable way of initiating physical contact with a woman and being romantic and non-creepy. And I was like, this is fantastic. I'm stealing this and I'm doing it to every single Western girl I ever come across in the future. And it is a great way to start the date, in my opinion. So the problem with a lot of guys make is they'll never handshake a girl, for God's sake. Never, nice to meet you, we're on a friggin' business interview. Never do that. But a lot of guys will delay the first bit of physical contact for so long. And yeah, you can make the argument that kind of builds up a bit of sexual tension, but for the most part, you want to be, I think you want to be slowly ramping up the physical escalation. And starting off with that kiss on the cheek and a hand on the back is a great way to get things rolling. And so then the next time when you sit down at a table and start having some drinks, when you start, maybe touching on a leg or touching on the arm every now and then, that's fine. You already kissed on the cheek. It's not, this is sort of socially acceptable. You can physically escalate really, really smoothly in that way when you start out with physical escalation right off the bat, rather than just leaving it for forever and it's so awkward, and maybe you'll start getting in your head and you'll be like, oh man, I should probably like break this physical barrier at some point, and you'll start thinking about it too much and you'll get awkward and it'll really ruin it when you eventually do go to do it. So if you do it, bang, right off the bat, the physical barrier has been broken, cool. Now we can start being flirty. Now, if you want to learn even more strategies that will significantly increase your closing rate, then check out my book in the description below. It's called How to Seal the Deal. It's got over 35 different strategies, techniques, and principles that you can apply to consistently get laid on the first date. I've been using it, all the principles in this book, I've been using it in my 20s. I still use them to this day. All my friends use them. This is field tested amongst a bunch of different guys who get laid consistently. This stuff actually works. So check out the link in the description down below. Step 4 is another thing you do on the date, and that is, this is a real key thing that guys cock up, is you want to give her some kind of plausible deniability to pull back to your place. So what do I mean by that? Plausible deniability is basically the idea that she can, after the fact, she can backwards rationalize you dicking her down as, oh, it just magically happened. So what's an example? I have a friend who uses his dog all the time. So, for example, on the date, he might start showing the girl photos of his dog, and he's like, oh, this dog's really cute. This is his name, blah, blah, blah. He'd really like you. You should come meet him. And then they pull back the date. The date's going really well. They have some drinks, whatever. And then he's like, hey, come meet Fluffy or whatever. Pulls back to his place, introduces the dog. Oh my God, he's so cute, blah, blah. And then he escalates things from there. But she's back at the sex location. And it gives her an excuse, because when her friends ask her, how did you end up fucking him? Oh, he invited me back to meet his dog, and then one thing led to another, right? So this concept of plausible deniability is super, super useful, because sometimes, okay, sure, sometimes a girl is going to be down, and it's really obvious, and, you know, it can be a bit more overt. That is fine. If you can pick up on the signs that she's really down and really keen, hey, let's go back to my place, have a drink or something like that, is super easy to pull off, right? But not every girl is going to be, you know, that receptive to kind of coming across slutty, right? As much sex as modern women still have, somewhere in the back of their brain, they still don't want to appear too easy, okay? So you give her some kind of plausible deniability, some excuse for you to bring her back to your place. Here's another example. Maybe you have a really cool view from your balcony and you can show her the city skyline. Maybe you're in a place where you actually can see the stars, and maybe you have a telescope out on your balcony somewhere. You're like, have you ever wanted to see Mercury? Like, what the hell? You want to see Mercury? Well, come on, I actually have a telescope. We can go see Mercury right now. That sounds like a pretty cool invitation. Cool. You get her back to your place as an excuse, you show her Mercury, whatever, and then you can escalate things from there. But it gives her, again, I've got to reiterate this, guys, it gives her an excuse after the fact so she doesn't look and feel like a slut. So when she's telling this story to her friends, her girlfriends, they're not going to accuse her of being a slut. So get creative with that. Find some excuse in your house, some attraction, some thing, some theme, something to look at, whatever it is. It can be it really can be anything. You can be very, very creative with this. But have some kind of plausible deniability excuse for you to pull her back to your place. And on the date, you mention this. You drop it somewhere. In the middle of the date, say 15, 20 minutes in or whatever, you drop it, right? You mention this thing, and then you change topic and keep talking about something else. So you planted the seed in her head somewhere during the date, and then when it comes to the kind of the end of the date at the bar or whatever, then you're like, hey, come meet Fluffy, come check out Mercury, come see the view, whatever it is, right? And then you do the pull, right? So you seed it in the middle of the date, some excuse, and then you bring it up again. It's not, if you just drop it at the very end of the date, it's kind of awkward, or it's a bit obvious what you're doing. But if you seed it in the middle of the date first, then you do it again at the end, oh, it's a concept he's already mentioned before. It's less awkward. It's less obvious. You know, it comes across as more genuine, right? And you're creating this. You're doing what I like to call engineering serendipity. You're creating this situation where she just gets magically swept off her feet, right? But again, it's all part of your game plan. And I fundamentally believe that you guys need to have a game plan if you want to see success in this area. So step 5 is actually having a place to have sex. Obviously, I've said in this video, pull her back to your place and have sex. I have gotten emails from so many dudes who are like, I don't have a place of my own. I live with my parents. I can't get laid. What do I do? Well, if you're going to have sex, you need a place to have sex, okay? If you live with like housemates and they're cock blocks, again, that's not really good logistics for you to pull back to. If you live with your parents and you can't bring a girl home to your parents or whatever, that's not a great situation. So for those guys who are in really shitty logistical situations, obviously the best case scenario is you have your own goddamn place. Even if you live with somebody who's not a complete cock block, you have a place to pull a girl back to, cool. You can start physically escalating over there, fine. But if you don't have that ideal situation set up, maybe you, again, like I said, live with your parents or live in a shitty situation, the car is probably the second best option for you, right? And what I used to do, drive a girl around on a date or something, go to one or two bars, one or two different attractions, and I'd go to some sort of, I made this thing up in my old hometown. It was called the 7 Wonders of Perth. I completely made this up. And I only ever showed girls like 3. There wasn't even 7 wonders. I was only ever showing them 3. But I would take them to these cool little spots. These, like, this one was like a little secluded beach. One was this dude's house where he had all these like conspiracy theory placards at the front of his house. Just a funny, weird thing to go look at. And so I'd drive her around to all these different things, and the third one would be kind of like a secluded location where I could park a car, and we could make out in the car, and maybe eventually have sex in the car, or we was secluded enough that we could do it outside the car, fuck her on the bonnet of the car, whatever. But that is kind of your workaround. If you don't have a place, a house to pull back to for sex, then that's kind of your ideal workaround. So you're going to have to structure your date around that instead, because you're not going to get laid if you don't have a place to actually have sex. And again, I'll reiterate, this is why I always like to set up dates close to my house. Ideally, within walking distance of my house, because it's just a less awkward pull. If you're going on a date somewhere that's like 30 minutes away from your house, well, hey, come back to my place and meet Fluffy or whatever, you've got 30 minutes of conversation you have to fill in the car before you get back to your place, before you start escalating, right? It's just smoother. I always like to go to a bar near my place, see the pull, give us, drop the plausible deniability pull, right? And then we just like walk back, and it's like a 5-10 minute walk back, done. And then we're in the house and we can start escalating from there. But the key is having an actual place you can get laid, guys. I mean, that should be pretty obvious, but I get a lot of emails about this, so I wanted to make sure you guys had a backup plan, which in my personal experience, the car is the best backup plan. Now, step 6 is, again, something you do at your place. Once you've got it back in your apartment, you might start ramping up the physical escalation a bit. And I know a lot of guys have problem with sort of figuring out when's the time to like make the move, right? Yeah, you might be kissing her and making out and stuff, but they're like, how do I actually take this and then get it into the bedroom and have sex? And for me, and I know this has worked for a lot of my friends as well, the easiest way, simplest, easiest way of sort of indicating that this is going to lead towards sex and testing to see how down she is. Once you're making out, maybe you're getting a little bit touchy-feely, moving your hands over each other's bodies, just grab her hand and put it on your boner. At that point, you should have a boner. If you're making out with a beautiful woman, you should have a fat through your pants. So just grab her hand and don't force it. Just grab her hand lightly and place it on your boner. If she keeps her hand there, rubbing your dick, green light. Woo! Let's go, my friend. That is a good sign. If she takes her hand away and keeps making out, okay, maybe it's not necessarily a total no, but it could be, that's like I need a bit more time. Cool. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, cool, we make things work. If she takes her hand away and, kind of breaks away the kiss and is, giving you some sort of verbal signs that she's not into that, okay, it's a red light, we stop, enjoy your evening. Cool, you can escort her back to her car or whatever and end the night there. The beautiful psychological thing about this technique, right, is technically you're the one who is escalating things physically because you're putting her hand on your penis. But if she keeps her hand there and starts playing with you with junk, then she's really the one escalating things, right? So you're actually getting her to physically escalate on you, which makes her more aroused, more turned on, more likely to want to take things to the bedroom. Also, if you want to ensure that your first dates go really well, you want to make sure you're a damn good kisser. So check out this video right here.